around the world. And just to give some sense of the innovation that we are looking to do, I would like to talk about one idea that we curated out of our incubator in Bangalore on agriculture. The problem statement was the farmers in rural India have an issue on irrigating the land. The farmers often live in far away from the farm, and the electricity for the water farms are pretty erratic in all these places. It is often available only during the night. Very often the farmer has got to make this 2 to 3 kilometers trudge in the night through this insect-ridden, snake-ridden farms to go to the farms to switch on this pump. And this is like becoming a serious problem. So our team in Bangalore incubator worked with an entrepreneur and curated a solution, an innovative method by which the pump could be remotely operated. A device with a SIM card was connected to the pump, and the device sends an alert to the farmer mobile phone on the availability of power, the moisture level in the farm, and the rain forecast for the next couple of days, which then gives the decision-making power to the farmer to say whether he needs to irrigate the land on a particular day. And if he decides to do that, he can actually switch on the pump with his mobile phone sitting at his home and irrigate the land and switch it off when he's done with it. So this is like an idea where we connect the unconnected and we see kind of magic happens. And what we've done in Cisco CSR is now take that particular innovation and the prototype, and we are now piloting it in another CSR program that we are doing with farms and farmers in Bihar, where we are actually seeing how this works on the ground. Finally, I would like to conclude by talking about CSR and partnerships. In the CSR context, India is very unique. All the corporate, as you all know, are mandated to spend 2% of their profits on CSR. This put approximately about 18,000 crores in the hands of private companies to spend on CSR. While this might look like a big number, it kind of dwarfs in front of the problems that we have in the social sector. For example, the education budget of the federal government alone is about 80,000 crores, whereas the education money that we spend by CSR, by corporates, is about 1,000 crores. What this brings home is the point that the need for smart partnership to ensure impact, especially in a country where scale matters. And that's where the partnership with government and universities and NGOs become very important. We are very grateful to the DOT for their involvement and mentoring us on this program. We look forward to working with DOT to identify challenges that we can have this incubator focus. I would like to specifically thank Secretary Aruna for her vision and leadership that triggered this project and for us to be doing what we are doing right here today. I would also like to thank the NASSCOM Foundation, who is our implementation partner for this program. And last but not the least, the management of the Indira Gandhi Technical University for Women for their support and partnership, without which today's inaugural would not have been possible. We are very excited to work with the university as it helps us work with women students. We greatly believe in women empowerment. For example, Cisco's Network Academy, which is our Cisco's flagship skill development initiative, 30% of the passouts are women, and they're often the top rankers in what of that effort. And we have other programs like Women Rock IT, which encourage women to embrace IT, and we'll be happy to partner with you on those programs too. I would like to conclude by thanking again all the stakeholders in making today's inauguration possible. And I'm confident that this initiative will be a resounding success, and this incubator will germinate several innovative ideas that will make India a better country. Thank you.
Thank you, Science Board, that creativity is actually nothing but intelligence having fun. So now may I invite Mr. Shrikant Sinha, CEO NASSCOM, to share his thoughts about the venture to the curious audience here.
Thank you. As you can make out from my voice, I was not supposed to speak. I'm having a bad throat, but I would not miss this occasion for anything. Ma'am, Secretary Ma'am, Mrs. Narasundarajan, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Harish, Professor Shyam Menon, faculty members, it is indeed a pleasure for me to be present amongst all of you here. NASSCOM Foundation, during Madam's time when she was the IT Secretary, took on the mandate of spreading digital literacy. Ma'am, we are in 160 plus centers and training a lot of people in digital literacy. I think today the biggest thing that the incubator is doing today over here, if I look at it, what Cisco has been able to do is actually, in words which my friend Chandra said some time back, democratize maker spaces. Maker spaces today are only domain of some people. When we were growing up, we used to play with something called as a Meccano. We used to create toys, we used to create things by using our hands. Then it became mechanics and then Lego. And now it's only Go. Everyone is busy playing on their mobile phones. This is a space where you can actually try out all your ideas. You can prototype things. You can create your own things yourself and see whether they will work or not. This is a thing which will actually bring down the cost of prototyping and everything else. And in fact, I would like to thank, people invest when CSR came up, and we have been witnessing it for the last 4 years. We saw, as Harish also said, the problems are huge, but people spend their CSR non-creatively. I'd like to thank Cisco for coming up with this incubator, which actually has created opportunities for at least 60 cohorts, 300 people, cohorts actually, who would, teams, who would actually get exposure to this technology across 5 universities. And thank you very much, ma'am, Indira Gandhi Delhi Technology University for Women. Thanks to your help, support and infrastructure, we have been able to make this dream a reality. I would not like to bore you with this bad throat, so I would like to once again thank all of you. And today, I would just like to urge all of you today, this fellow students sitting over here, use this, try to create things. If something doesn't work, there are mentors at all levels available to you, remotely as well as physically present. Make use of them. Thank you very much.
We just had the privilege to listen to Mr. Srikanth, who is currently the CEO of NASSCOM Foundation, the social development arm truly of the Indian IT BPM industry body. Your involvement in the gamut of programs also gives us a chance to interact with numerous NGOs, and you are the true leader in the CSR space. Mr. Srikanth also serves as the member of Technology Advisory Group for Girls in IT. That is a very good initiative indeed. And he's also the part of the working group of Technology Development for Indian Languages program run by the Government of India. He's also the head of the strategy group for pro bono volunteering in the CII India's at 75 initiative. And sir, that truly didn't sound like a bad throat to any of us. Thank you for your words indeed. Next we have with us to gather and share the wisdom, Professor Shyam V. Menon, ex-Vice Chancellor Ambedkar University, and in fact the first Vice Chancellor since 2008 until recently. Shyam Menon has been a professor at the Central Institute of Education, University of Delhi since '94. Then he had been a Dean Faculty of Education and Proctor of the University of Delhi. He had earlier been Director, School of Education, Indira Gandhi National Open University, and a professor at the Central Institute of Educational Technology, NCERT. Professor Menon studied at the University of Kerala and the MS in the University of Baroda. He was later at the University of Wisconsin-Madison as a Fulbright Fellow. He is currently on the task force on access and equity in higher education constituted by the International Association of Universities. May we have the pleasure to listen to your influential message, sir.
Thank you very much. Vice Chancellor, distinguished chief guests and other guests, my colleagues, my dear students. It's such a pleasure to be able to come here. Ironically, a couple of days after I laid down office as the Vice Chancellor of the neighboring university, I really think that there is much to do together. This campus is very special in the sense it's the largest concentration of women scholars anywhere in the city of Delhi. First of all, this campus itself is wonderful in the sense outside the din, and those who pass through the Delhi 6, they can't even imagine such a beautiful campus exists behind these walls. And as all of you know, that's a very significant. There's a lot of significance attached to this place. 400 years ago, Dara Shikoh, the eldest son of Shah Jahan, used to have his library here, and that remnants of that library still remains. But Dara Shikoh was assassinated, as you all know, and then his library was desecrated. And this, after about 200 years after that, this whole building was converted into the residence, the British residence, to the Mughal court. which is only a kilometer away from here. And subsequently, this place has been a nursery of many educational institutions. It had been the Delhi College, where of a great seat of scholarship in in Delhi, where if the legend is right, Mirza Ghalib, the famous poet, was actually recruited as a faculty here, and he came to the gate, and he was quite miffed by the fact that the principal of the college did not come to the gate to receive him. So he asked his palanquin to go back. So he never became the faculty in this Delhi College. Delhi College moved later. 1857 happened here. This was the major theatre of war, first war of independence, and the British battalion came down from Meerut through the bridge down here, and this was the major place where all that happened. And subsequently, this became the seat of the first polytechnic in northern India in the 1930s. And this became the first offices of the newly, of course, Delhi College of Engineering was established subsequently. It became the new avatar of the Delhi Polytechnic. And when the IIT Delhi was supposed to be established, and the idea came up in the late 50s, the first offices were here. And the St. Stephen's College was just across the road. So this area is a nursery for very important educational institutions in this country. So we should all be proud of that. What's most significant is that this is the concentration, the largest concentration of women scholars anywhere. When Ambedkar University Delhi was moving in, the then Vice Chancellor Bandyopadhyay, Professor Bandyopadhyay of IP University, he sort of complained, saying that all these rowdies in the social sciences will come and make it unsafe for our girls. What he did not realize is that the social sciences, 70% of our students are women. About as much proportion of our teachers are women. Most of our deans are women. So it's going to be like a women's campus. Men are only very, very few and far between. So it's extremely fertile for a lot of collaboration, and a symbiotic relationship can actually be established between the two institutions, particularly because there is an incubation center there as well, which recently got shortlisted for the Atal. There was only IIT, JNU, and this particular incubation center was shortlisted for that, and they focus on social entrepreneurship and innovation. And you focus on IT applications, and what can be a better, not disciplines, but the areas which are falling between the stools, between traditional disciplines, and that's where most of the new knowledge is going to be created. That's where most of the new work is going to be done. So the social science humanities, which was actually imagined in Ambedkar University, was of a different kind. That's why there are programs in social design, there's a program in social entrepreneurship, there's a program in development practice, there's a program in public policy, there's a program in urban studies, and so on and so forth. Everywhere there's a possibility of interface with sciences. In fact, no institution can really stand on its own feet with just a focus on one discipline or one set of disciplines. It has to collaborate. So I would tend to think that there's a lot of that kind of thing can happen. There's a Center for Urban Ecology and Sustainability, which is also working there. And that has got, I'm getting used to this idea of being the X, ironically, if I had been just a Vice Chancellor for two months, then also I could have been next Vice Chancellor. But it took me 10 years of being a Vice Chancellor to earn this new title. Thank you very much for having me here.